Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And let me just welcome everyone this morning. I want to thank all of you for being with us last evening. I got a report this morning, Kevin, that each and every one, with the exception of about 20 people, met curfew last night. But there were a few that were hanging on at the end, looking for more music, more food, and more spiked ice water. Now, and thank you, Chair Murphy. Let's give our chair a round of applause. And also other members of our Board of Trustees. Board members, please stand. The Board of Trustees of the National Urban League. A number of our members are here. Thank you very much. Thank you. We are in crisis, one like we've not seen before. When we began this year's State of Black America and the planning for it in 2024, our thought was, let's honor the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, to reflect on the progress, the struggles, and the promise of equality it brought to this nation. Before the Voting Rights Act, Jim Crow laws ruled the South. A government-sanctioned system of terror physically blocked people from the ballot box. And then there were literacy tests, poll taxes, and intimidation. My own mother told a story that when she first went to register to vote, she filled out a form, and the form said, "What color are your eyes?" On the form, she wrote BRN for brown. When she walked up to the clerk looked at her and said, "You filled this form out inaccurately. Your eyes are not brown. I see that you have black eyes." She was turned away. This was in the early 1950s, before the Brown decision and before the Voting Rights Act. Voter suppression and voter literacy was real. The Voting Rights Act changed that. It opened doors to Black Americans after centuries of enslavement and after generations being shut out of political power. It gave us, in the 1950s, with the 57 Civil Rights Act, a civil rights division at the Justice Department tasked with not only protecting voting rights, but civil rights at large, disability rights, reproductive freedom, and equal employment. In a twist of fate and in a torturing of common sense, decency, that same division, the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, has been twisted into a weapon. It now has been tasked to enforce anti-diversity and anti-equity executive orders that have stripped millions in funding from healthcare, education, and housing. The word equity has been smeared as some sort of preference or some sort of giveaway. The word diversity, equity, and inclusion has been smeared as though it means something obnoxious to American values, as something that must be earned, and that these rights must be earned in the wealthiest country in the world. These things are not just wrong, they're dangerous. This didn't begin with policy, it began with rhetoric, hate speech, lies, conspiracy theories festered on the internet, on the dark web, until they found a home in mainstream America. These views have always been present in this nation. But most elected leaders, whether they were D or R, banished these sorts of views to the fringes of American political thought, to the fringes of American politics. Regrettably, today they've become part of the mainstream and therefore acceptable by some, but obnoxious to us. What started as a war on woke has become a war on truth and a tool to dismantle voting rights and other rights. The lie that the 2020 election was stolen has fueled some 300 voter suppression bills across the country. States are purging voter rolls, requiring strict ID matches, making it difficult and hard to register to vote. Right here in Ohio, which I shared with you last night, was once the citadel of abolitionism and the anti-slavery movement. In the early days of this nation, 2 proposed laws threatened to erect new barriers on Election Day. And unlike past times when courts stood as a check, we now are beginning to see, particularly at the level of the Supreme Court, a complete collapse of those constitutional guardrails. The system meant to protect democracy is being used to dismantle it. Simply put, this is a state of emergency. This year's State of Black America, I think, speaks, yes, to the state of emergency for Black America, but I think it speaks to something much broader and much larger, and that is the state of emergency for the nation at large, the state of emergency for American democracy. Now, we will not go away quietly. The civil rights community and people of goodwill and people who have passion and people who love this nation are fighting back. Some with lawsuits that have been filed, some with protests, some with legislative advocacy, some with selective buying campaigns. We join with others in suing to overturn these racially motivated anti-diversity executive orders. And also, we are leaning in what we do on the D3 framework: defend democracy, demand diversity, and defeat poverty. Earlier this year, at the beginning of the year, as these executive orders came down, we convened a historic roundtable of some 20 organizations, civil rights and social justice organizations. Who was in the room? Certainly the African American civil rights legacy organizations were in the room. Prominent Latino organizations were in the room. Prominent Asian American organizations were in the room. The HRC, which represents the LGBTQ community, was in the room. Several Jewish organizations were in the room. The Arab American organization was in the room. We built a round table which was multicultural to focus on diversity and to uplift all that is good and to try to build the broadest coalition to fight. We communicated with the White House. We communicated with the public, demonstrating that diversity, equity, inclusion is not just good policy, it's good economics. It's vital to our democracy. Some get caught in the nomenclature of diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does it really mean? I encourage everyone to go back to the root. The root is the principle of equal opportunity. The root is the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Whether it's diversity, equity, and inclusion, whether it's affirmative action, whether it's equal employment opportunity, all of these are mere implementation strategies, implementation steps, implementation programs to make the promise of equal opportunity real in every way and in every measure. And so we include in this year's State of Black America report a section on how diversity, equity, and inclusion help to expand voting rights, civic engagement, and economic participation. The clear through line from the Civil Rights Act to the outlawing of employment discrimination to increase economic opportunity and rising turnout is one of the hallmarks of the progress of the second half of the 20th century. As I've said before, we're heirs to that legacy. We're progenitors of that legacy. We are a generation that had an opportunity to sit in seats, go through doors, work together in ways unimagined 100 years ago. Candidates are stepping into leadership, strengthening their communities, and creating a more prosperous America for all. That's what's at stake. This is not about taking opportunities away from anyone. It's about expanding the table. It's about expanding the table of opportunity. We have almost a $30 trillion economy in this nation. And I believe that with a $30 trillion economy, there's a seat at the table for everyone. We are about protecting an America that is fair and free, where all of us, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, can survive. The report doesn't just document the threats. We celebrate the resistance. In classrooms, courtrooms, boardrooms, state houses, city halls, in big cities and small towns, in community-based organizations, in faith-based organizations. A new generation is rising to defend our progress and demand more. This work is hard. This work is going to take a long time. This work is going to require our ongoing commitment. But we know that this arc doesn't bend towards justice on its own. We must bend it. We must bend it with strength and with will. This is our moment as a generation. And we must not allow hate, fear, or division to define us. We were made for this moment, and indeed we will meet it together. The State of Black America comments this year on the state of the nation. And I want to give you a few warning signals from information over the last just several weeks. For the first time in a long time, we see Black unemployment rising while white unemployment is falling. In March of this year and in April of this year, a record number, and this is a regrettable number, a record number of African-American women found their ways to the unemployment lines. We're beginning to see the real, demonstrable, statistical impact on these policies of division. And we've got to be aware that this is not just a show we're watching on television. This is not just a movie that we're going to rate and observe. It's not a horror flick. It's not a melodrama. It is real, and it is affecting all of us. So after this, we're going to have a great panel discussion led by Ed Gordon with some important thought leaders to talk more about the state of Black America and the state of the nation. And I'm grateful for all of them for being with us today. A few participants could not make it because of flight challenges due to the weather on the East Coast, but I'm happy that they are here with us today. Suffice it to say that almost 50 years ago, when Vernon Jordan released the first version of the State of Black America, it's because he was confronted with an administration at that time, the Ford administration, which had completely ignored the difficult challenges that Black America faced. His response to it was to promulgate his own report with its own critique and its own recommendations. We stand in that spirit today with a report that is unapologetic in defining all of the challenges that we face, but is also constructive in making suggestions and recommendations on how to go forward. So thank you all very much. That's a summary of the State of Black America. Please read it. Please use it. Please use it as an instrument to inspire debate and discussion wherever you are. So thank you very much. I turn it back to Rhonda. Once again, good morning.